Between the hills, the stars, the sky, the river so clear, river so clear.
Let us join in a spirit of meditation, reflection, or prayer as we deepen into our service and share our opening words for this morning. This reading comes from Barbara Cheatham, and it's called On a Winter Morning. It is good to be together. When winter's darkness spreads across the land and cold creeps through our thickest coats, we hurry here, drawn by the warmth of faces familiar and new, to the welcoming walls of this house. Here, for this hour, we open ourselves to new understanding, reassurance, and hope. For this is a place where truth, love, and challenge meet. Welcome. It is a good morning to be together. We join Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists all over the world with lighting the chalice. I'll now light the chalice, which is a symbol of the spark of life in each of us. If you are on Zoom and have your chalice with you, I invite you to turn on your video to share while we light them. We are in good company. Our chalice lighting words are Thirsty by Gregory Polly. And so we gather from the ebb and flow of our lives, thirsty for connection to ourselves, thirsty for connection to others, thirsty for connection to the larger life. As we light this chalice, may all who gather here be filled with joy and hope, filled with compassion and love. Here may we be filled so that we may pour ourselves out into the world.
There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. So there's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
We have a special treat today for our main program. Karen Van Fossan is with us in person. I have to say that since we joined the church last year, we've heard so many stories about Karen and her time as minister here and all the work that was done. So very honored for her to be here in person. She's the author of Fire Center, Solidarity, Whiteness, and Becoming a Water Protector. She joined the congregation in the early 2000s and served as our minister from 2015 to 2019. She now serves as a community-based minister and counselor in Fargo. Karen.
Good morning. It's really good to be with you. And also with you. Thank you. Special thanks to all the mentors and friends here. You know who you are, and I hope you know the depth of my gratitude to you. I feel very humbled to give voice at all again in this place and in your presence. So thank you. As I was preparing for today, I was thinking a lot about my mom, which I do, and she would never go anywhere without bringing a gift. Usually it was edible and delicious. These aren't, but they're a small gift to share with you. They are bookmarks that correspond to the book. I don't know what to do with them. I'm sure there are people who would. But when they came in the mail, I thought, well, I know some people who might know something to do with at least one of them. So I'll share those. So as far as I'm concerned, this congregation and this community has done a lot of things together over the years, including we wrote a book, or we made a book. And of all the things that we've done, that's probably the smallest, but it's what we're here to talk about today. And I'm honored to do so. There are some ministers who believe that whenever they get into the pulpit, they should have a joke to begin. And those of you who were here when I was here as minister probably know that hasn't been my approach. Thanks. But I have one. It's very brief, so please just don't let yourself think of anything else, because it's going to pass almost as soon as it starts. But it's the best joke I have for today. Knock, knock. We are. So I would like to share some from this book and from our memories and our shared work. And you might know, since I've last been with you, I was in jail. Rattler got out of jail, and a lot of other people have been in and out of it for sake of the water and the land and the people. Hey, Rattler. Prison, yeah. It was real live prison, yeah. I was just in jail. It felt real live too. Depends, I guess. So I'd like to begin at the end. This is the gratitude page. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll begin here. To the Water Protector Movement, thank you. To Line 3 jail support and court support, who helped me out a lot when I needed them, thank you. To the Bismarck, Mandan, Unitarian, Universalist congregation, thank you. And now I'll begin at the beginning. We were joking earlier that I think it was Micah who asked, are we going to read the whole thing today? I was like, yeah, get out your blankets and your pillows. I'm sure Carol Jean has wrangled some snacks in some way, so. Welcome. Is it about Standing Rock? I've been asked this question when a loved one or colleague hears about this book and generously wonders what it's about. Each time the answer gets caught in my throat. In this moment, the words seem to be caught in my throat again. The truest answer might go like this: not exactly, and also, yes. Standing Rock showed me how to live. At Oceti Shakowin Camp, the largest camp within the Standing Rock movement, I was welcomed as a relative. One of 100,000 relatives who had gathered there from everywhere. Do you remember? In 2016, when the Indigenous-led uprising to protect the Missouri River roused the human family, it became my fondest wish to live as a good relative with people and all beings who comprise this earth. When the colonial state forcibly closed the camps in collusion with the colonial extractive industry, thousands of people, including myself, lost their sense of home. Many within our community lost their home altogether. This book was born from that loss and longing, and also from an ever-deepening gratitude toward Oceti Sakowin Camp and the world I inhabited there. As far as I can tell, the way of life at camp was a way of life that human beings were made for. I certainly felt more like a human being, an embodied member of the intricate web of life than I ever had before. Today, thanks to Oceti Sakowin Camp, as well as many water protector events and reunions that have followed, I have a visceral sense of how and what transformation can feel like. Still, as a white person, I have come to understand that this process is not only about experiencing the great blessings or even the basic human struggles of participation in Indigenous-led intercultural resistance movements. When my culture has located itself in direct opposition to Indigenous ways of life, and when I, as a white person, seek to oppose this very opposition, my life can seem to move in two directions at once. In order to bring my own fullness, my own wholeness to this work of liberation, I need a genuine understanding of the situation at hand, which calls for a genuine understanding of my own culture. Through this process of unfolding this ever-deepening sense of who I am and who I come from, I believe I can participate with more energy and integrity in decolonizing movements that have nourished my body and my spirit, guiding the course of my life. So, what might my white identity mean? How might my whiteness relate to or not relate to the lifelong project of becoming a human being? In the movement for collective liberation, how might my whiteness both complicate and mandate the role of allyship or even accomplishship, a mutual role that happens, according to Indigenous Action Media, when we fight back and forward together, becoming complicit in a struggle toward liberation. These are some of the questions that have shaped this memoir of heart, mind, body, and spirit. So that's what it's about. So along the way, Rania, do you remember, you knew this was going to happen. Do you remember, so Rania and I were part of a project with the Native American Training Institute, where we were able to be at camp and ask Indigenous people one question. Do you remember the question? Rania came up with the question, so there's no need to remember it. That's up to the rest of us. How has camp changed you? So we went there, we had a grant from Humanities North Dakota, and we went with our tent, and we brought some lights because we wanted people to be able to see us, and we thought we needed something else, and somebody had red streamers, so kind of at the edge, we set up our tent and we opened the flaps real wide and we tied them off to the side, and we wrapped these lights around and all these red streamers, and we placed ourselves, these three women just waiting at the edge. And then we realized how very, very much our presentation might resemble a red light district. And that was still no reason for people not to stop by somehow. So that's where, so the part I'd like to share with you next starts, in spite of our unintended messaging. I thought it would be way more fun for you to know what that unintended messaging was as we go in. So the words right before that are atmosphere of a red light district. In spite of our unintended messaging, a number of people did consent to be interviewed, including Candy Mossett-White, who shared stories of the medicines her ancestors had placed in the ground years before. Even in the earliest days of camp, many people could sense its healing power. It was as if folks already knew, no matter whether they had been told, that people had prepared this place long ago, believing the coming generations might gather here. And they had, and we did. In teepees, tents, yurts, cars, campers, remade buses, the first kitchen tent went up fast, part army tent, part tarp invention. Summer tents became storage sheds, one for packages of noodles, one for packages of rice, one for packages of beans of many kinds. Soon more kitchen tents were needed, close to the center of camp as well as spread throughout. Each kitchen with its spontaneous volunteers and floors of tramped down dirt had counters for serving, stoves for cooking, and later, in the winter months, even a warming spot for eating. When I arrived at camp, I'd sometimes chop carrots, fry patties, wash dishes. Forever, I'd wash dishes. Remember that, Liz? I was joined almost always by congregants from the church, our spirited circle of adults and children. As far as I was concerned, this camp, this way of being, this community rooted in justice was precisely what church was about. And congregants from various cultural identities lived into this vision. Before each meal, a spirit plate would be prepared for the ancestors, a prayer would be said, and meals would be offered to elders and security when they were willing to accept them, I think. Rattler? Mm-hmm. One day, as the meal began, I served rice and then more rice for hours and hours and hours. As people of many ages and ancestries ventured through the line, there's plenty of rice. Here's the rice. How about some rice today? I said. After all were fed, I took a look at my serving thumb. There, along the meaty part, was one lone blister, the place where spoon had met flesh. That day, I had dished 1,000 plates of rice. Later, in Grandma's kitchen, that same dramatic thumb faced a conflict with a knife. I bolted toward the medic and healer area, squeezing my gory thumb above my shoulder. Don't worry, that's all I say about it in the whole book, okay? After passing the holistic healing tent, animated by massage therapists and other healers, and the herbal tent crowded with end-to-end jars of medicine, I hustled through the flaps of the medic tent. For the first time since I could remember, I didn't have to worry whether I had enough funds or whether I had insurance in the first place. I was tended to, cared for, just because I was human. Often new arrivals at camp would ask, how much does it cost for a camping spot, a meal, a massage? The best answer, nothing. Or maybe everything. Everything colonialism had taught about human economics, culture, life. This camp, this village of 10,000 people at its largest, was a place I had never imagined. and also a place I had always, somewhere in my being, believed was possible. So now I'm going to take you to the end. This one also has a little bit of a dramatic beginning. Later during the summer when I was arrested, and I say more about that in here, but we'll just pick up after. Later during the summer when I was arrested, I carpooled with Tracy L. Wilkie, who might be listening in Fargo by Zoom. I carpooled with Tracy L. Wilkie to the Line 3 resistance at the Shell River. We arrived just in time for a special get-together of women at Shell Camp, one of numerous Line 3 resistance camps. Like many people who had assembled under the thick, high trees, we piled ourselves into a sturdy canoe and paddled toward the construction site. The purpose was to pray, leave flowers, and honor the otherwise desecrated land. Somehow, we chose the trick canoe of the fleet, the one that took us to each side of the river and back again in a zigzagging pattern of cattail viewing splendor. Being completely unable to paddle from point A to point B, and then laughing ourselves out of any kind of muscle control whatsoever, we were very soon at the back of the bunch. From there, we watched the horses and riders trotting through the spray. We watched famous people visiting with not so famous people. We also watched lots and lots of cattails charging into view as we crisscrossed the water. Not long after we arrived at the gathering spot, a spontaneous round dance came together there in the clear, shallow river. There were chants, there were conversations, there were flowers laid at the site. Soon, Tasia Martineau, an Anishinaabe water protector and founder of Camp McGizzy, spoke these words into the waiting crowd. I don't want to hear another non-Indigenous person apologize to me for their roots or lack thereof again. We are building a new foundation here. You are the embodiment. You are the embodiment of everything good that your ancestors brought here with them. I hope to embody my ancestors in a way that honors them and the roots they have given me. After all, since human beings are some of the newest beings on the earth, most of the planet really is my ancestors. What would it mean to embody that kind of truth? A couple of months before the Shell River canoe trip, on the night I got home from jail, I took my usual walk along the meandering Red River. I greeted its curves, delighted in its tree-filled nooks. I wandered beside its overgrown banks, Miniwichoni. Before long, I found myself talking to the river. It wasn't the first time I had found myself speaking to the water, to oaks and chokecherries and cottonwoods, to the creatures in the distance, to the spirit animating all. On this particular day, I said, well, I just got out of jail. Please don't take offense, but I went there for you and me, for all of us, really. Anyway, it's really good to be home. As I wandered along, I happened upon a family group of beavers, 1, 2, 4 of them, sleek and ever determined. While I stood on the soggy bank, they allowed me to be among them as they gathered willow fronds in their teeth, swooping up to the onyx surface and then lunging down, down, down to places unknown. On that particular night, as the sun went pink at my shoulder, I stood there so long, I could sense the soles of my feet taking root through weeds and sand and rock, to the living waters below, to the fire at the center of the planet. Among the beavers, the curious deer, the willow brush at the shore, and the birds of the dusky air, I felt as if I was one of them, in a place, a living world where I belonged. In that moment, among moments, as a creature among creatures, maybe I was. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me I am somebody. That's what the movement at Standing Rock, the water protector movement, this congregation's involvement, this congregation over the course of my life has continued to teach me. It's good, really good, to be somebody together. And it's real damn good to be back. Thank you.
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
We will extinguish our chalice with these words: Cooperation for Human Creativity by Denise Colley. Love our earth. Take action to consume less. Use less energy, respect water, and be cooperative, collaborative, and creative community. Like the moss and the mushrooms, our children's lives depend on us.